You only ever see people when they're performing. When there's more than one person's eyes on a person, very, very often what that person is giving you in that moment is a projection. And I don't think we should blame them for that. Because we do that too. There is a difference between a public self and a private self, and just because there is that difference does not mean that the public self is a lie or the private self is the truth, but they are different capacities and expressions of ourselves. I talked with someone last night, someone who I would speak to and refer to as a hero of mine, somebody who I would like to be where they are, right? It's been a long time since I've talked to them, but my memories of them are fond. I remember them being a polymath, and the kind of person who more than just says that they read and learn and do stuff, but really does. They are neck deep at any given time with fiction book, and have cleared so many a volume like I would clear slices of cheesecake despite being lactose intolerant. I spoke with them one-on-one recently, and it's really, really nice to see them out and about, right? Being their smart, cool self. But I think it's really interesting to speak with them one-on-one and catch up. It was silly at first, nervous at first, because how do you speak to a friend of yours after 6 or so months of not having talked? But we caught up. We did catch up. I told them what I was doing. They told me what they were doing, how's work, how are the kids, etc., etc. And then we got to where we want to improve, what we want to do with ourselves, what skills have we been gaining. I told them about my 10-minute talks. I told them about how I create these short journals / self-help modules / literary critique things, though I haven't talked about media in a while. How I do these little things, and they've been popping off. I'm on track to getting 1,000 by the end of the year. And they told me how they are reaching their writing goal of 60,000 words in the past couple of months. Told me how they're going back into reading, how they want to be a creator just as much as they are a consumer of good media. I looked at them with stars in my eyes and went, how do you do it? How do you find it in yourself to do that when I'm barely struggling to read a couple of pages a day? And I've been trying to learn how to read again. And here they are, clearing all of the goals that I have. And they looked at me and went, well, actually, this is recent. I'm jumping off of a period of my life of discontent where I looked at myself and saw myself getting slow, and I saw that void in my life and I wanted to fill it with something. And I looked at them and was very, very confused because whenever I see them, it's always at their best. I only ever see them in a public forum, and the character that we have applied to them, the assumption that we've applied to them, is this incredibly intelligent, thoughtful, and smart person. And they don't stop being that now that we are alone with each other, just talking. But it's interesting to see the rest. It's interesting to see what else they are and who they are. And they're not so different from their public self that I would be incredibly surprised, but it adds nuance. And it reminds me, myself, that people have an image of me. People have an idea of me. And likely people have an idea of you, distinct of how you actually experience and see your world. This person told me, oh, it's kind of funny, because you're not the first person, I told them this, you're not the first person who finds me intimidating. Apparently I get that comment quite a bit. I said, actually, even though I call you intimidating, I've actually gotten that myself. Apparently there are 5 or 6 or so other creators who would love to talk with me, but are a bit shy. And because I am in and of itself a private person, I don't accept DMs on Discord. I tend to run with the few comfortable people that I know instead of reaching out and trying to make new friends and all that such. And because people know of me like that, we're in that state of stasis. It comes from like a fear of like the cool, not to ever call myself cool or anything like that. But when we see somebody fully realized, when we see the public self fully realized and dancing, we see them for the social media self, for the public self, and we don't see them for the private. We don't see, you all don't see how I've been skimping out on so many of my daily journaling recently. How the majority of videos you've been seeing the past 2 weeks have been backlogged from September. You don't see. Well, you know because I told you that if a video releases past 10:45, it means that I was scrambling to get it out of the gate, especially if it has no thumbnail, especially if it has no description. I think we need to healthily remind ourselves that the people we love, the people that we're very, very excited about, aren't the people we think they are. There is so much we know of them. But at the same time, there are gaps. There are gaps full of our headcanons of them. Another hero of mine that I had the luxury of being able to speak to more recently. It's really interesting how different my personal idea of them was with their actual self, right? How different the public persona they present and the person they are when one-on-one and just trying to chill and let their hair down is different. And you could even be projecting your public self one-on-one with people. Sometimes you'll be talking with someone and you will never have let down that projection that you create for yourself. And again, these projections aren't falsehoods. They're just your public face. People don't see the shadow. People only see the persona. Are they entitled to it? No, not at all. Just as I am not entitled to you and your maddest edges, you are not entitled to mine. But all that being said, I think if we see someone and idealize them and look at them as where we would want to be, such as I have with these two heroes, I think it is healthy. I think it is healthy to recognize that they are people too. They're more than just the ideal that you've applied to them. They have their hard days. They look at themselves and see something wrong. And it is not a crime to look at yourself and see a place where you want to improve and act on it. I had a brief encounter on my stream the other day where I spoke to my discontent with my drawing ability. I am not very good. I've been learning for a very long time, since 16, 14, with some of the best artists at my back teaching me with a hand guiding over mine, and it doesn't click. And at this point in my life, drawing is not as important to me as other skills I'd like to cultivate, such as my voice work, such as my talking, etc. But I try to go, come on, you can draw, you got it in you, motivating me, right? But for me, it wasn't nearly that important. I love artists, I support artists, but for me, to be one isn't a great desire of mine. But because I am insecure, because I come off as insecure, they immediately clocked my lack of drawing ability as something that I really wanted for myself. Do I want it? Of course, I would love to flick a switch and be able to draw. But there's a lot more going on for me. There are a lot more things I'm chasing at the moment, and drawing right now isn't a priority. And this isn't about parasocialism. Parasocialism has become a buzzword at this rate. It doesn't mean anything at this rate because everyone has surface level understandings of each other. But I think to interrogate the public self and to leave room for the private self is an interesting thing. Ding, 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 10 minutes.